Hello and welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I am your host, Justin.
And I am right here from Zipperon Disney, talking with my wonderful friends about this great publication that's out.
Yeah, and I'm your co-host Austin, in case you forgot.
And I'm your co-host Ian. You probably forgot.
We hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I am super excited for today's episode. Before we get into that, I would like to give a quick shout out. Our Capes and Crooks, a 5th edition superhero RPG Kickstarter is now live. It ends on July 29th. We're a little over 40%, 42%, somewhere in there right now. We're definitely not blowing up as much as we would like, so if this is a project you'd like to see brought to life, please consider supporting it. You can head on over to rebrand.ly/Kickstarter, Capes and Crooks, or you can find a link to it on our website, or just Google it in the search bar on Kickstarter. If you don't know, Capes and Crooks is a 5e superhero RPG. We've stripped away subclasses, we've added evolving powers, and it makes for a lot of cool customization. So if you want to, please help us bring this project to life.
Absolutely.
With that, thanks everyone for joining us today here at Crit Academy Studios, where everything's made up and your roles don't matter.
Yep, that's right. Your roles are like a gazette with no headline.
You need those.
You kind of do.
So on today's show, I want to thank Zipperon for joining us today. We are going to be talking about his lovely action-packed book, the Galder's Gazetteer, I think is how you say that. That's how I've been saying it. Is that correct? Oh, we've got no audio on you, Zipperon.
Galder's Gazetteer, yep, that's correct.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
No, that's okay.
As long as we
so
can
I'm
hear
super
you.
excited to talk about that because it's got a massive collection of awesome options. Things I hadn't even thought of. Can I just say, I can't wait to dig into it. I love the additional martial options and additional action options. Nice work. But before that, we like to start off every episode on a high note by giving away fat loots, compliments of our generous sponsors.
It's so nice to be back here to say that I can give people stuff away.
Yeah.
Our RPG Fat Loot giveaway is the Primal Path, Path of the Hero by David Serrano. Lead your party to victory with this teamwork-focused Primal Path. Make your allies stronger as you inspire them with your fearless rage, freeze your enemies in fear as you charge, and show them how things are done. Go forth as your heroic rage boosts your allies, protecting them against harm, forcing your foes to recoil, and let your party wail on them. Furthermore, you are not just strong, but your heroic presence is also useful when it comes to social encounters. Wow, who would have guessed that the barbarian would be doing that? Be the face of the party, not just the brawn.
I love it.
So, if you will on your enemies, are you using an actual whale?
Yes. Please. And our winner today is Count's Cuisine. Counts
Sounds
as
great.
in more than one.
Apparently. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Sorry, I haven't finished setting up a button for that.
That's okay. But don't worry if you didn't win, because you can just head over to critacademy.com and subscribe for your chance to win. All you have to do is go to our newsletter and be like, yes, I would like to be a part of this.
Yes.
It's that easy.
All right. Once again, thank you, Zipperon, for joining us. I am obviously a huge fan of your content, which I only had learned about when we ran into you at a convention, and you totally destroyed my little pop quiz thing like a boss. And I was like, who the hell is this guy that just comes in and knows these answers? Like, you're a YouTuber. It made sense.
Yeah. We met at RPG Academy's convention in Dayton, Acadecon.
Yep.
Fantastic small convention for like independent RPGs, real like small like community oriented. Fantastic place.
Nice.
Michael's a great guy too. Puts it on.
Yes, for
It was
sure.
a fun
for sure.
con.
We had a lot of fun. But for those that don't know who you are, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I run a YouTube channel for advanced dungeon masters. A lot of YouTube channels out there talk about, the top 10 tips for beginners, or, the best spells, or, subclass rankings. What I do is I go a little one step deeper. My channel is really for people who want to be game designers themselves, or are really focused on the tools of narration and storytelling and social interaction.
That's
is
a wonderful
awesome.
way to put it.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Nice.
Hey, I
So-
pledged when as we were talking.
Hey, thank you. So yeah, that's really exciting. If you haven't checked out his thing, I will toss a link in the chat below, so you can go right and check it out after this show.
After the show, please.
After the show.
Well, thank you for telling us a little bit about yourself in a nice, neat, concise way.
Right?
Because most guests don't seem to do that, I feel
Well,
like.
I don't even do that.
I don't know that either. But anyway, what is your most memorable D&D moment? I know that's hard to do.
Okay, so I've been on the show before. I think I already shared one where I talked about the an epic TPK at the end of a 18th level campaign.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think we have to put that in the past. I think another really, really memorable moment was I one-shot killed a character in the middle of the pandemic, right? We had been playing this campaign for like a year and a half at that point, right? Through Zoom all this time, right? And this was like the one thing we all had like for our social interaction, right? So these characters meant a lot to these people.
Mhm.
And I had tried to warn them ahead of time. I said, this person they can kill with one blow. I tried to foreshadow as much as I could, and they knew that this weapon, this person has a vorpal dagger. Just stab. If the attacker rolled a 20, their heart would explode, right?
What?
And so that happened.
Cool.
She rolled with advantage, and I said 20. Effie dies.
Oh.
And they didn't quite get it. They're like, no, we can just revive her. She's just down. We can heal her real fast, stabilize her. I'm like, no, her heart exploded. She is dead. And then just the silence. Because we're playing on Zoom, and I was behind the camera, so making this disembodied voice, and I just hear this nothingness, and I knew I broke everybody's heart.
Literally.
Ugh.
Literally.
Yeah.
That's a...
And then get this, right? Like, I don't know why players do this. The very next session, right? They try to introduce the new character, and the first thing they do is they get into a fight, right?
With
course.
each other or something else?
Yeah. All the player characters are at the tavern, like mourning the death of their new comrade, right? And the new player character walks in, and they immediately get into a fight in the middle of the bar room.
Oh God.
Yeah, like,
Jeez.
why can't you just make it easy on yourselves?
Right.
I don't know, but that's crazy. I mean, yeah, like the idea of just like having like, because that'd be like if we like lost one of our characters in like Descent into Avernus, but like because like, I mean, obviously you foreshadowed it a lot, but like I think no one truly expects getting, truly one shot, right?
Right.
Like they don't, they'll think like, oh, it'll be an epic battle, and oh no, he got his most powerful move and it killed me, right? But like this is like. It was nowhere, It's just like
Yeah.
it just comes in and it's just that's it. Your heart's gone now.
Yeah.
It's over.
The rule I had was if you were below 20 hit points and they rolled a 20, your heart exploded.
That's
Done.
Oh,
so good.
man.
Yeah, I actually have a video on this topic about save or die on my channel. I go into a 10-minute deep dive about like all the philosophy you could possibly imagine about this.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's for advanced dungeon masters.
Yeah.
Of course.
I think that's actually one of the things that sets your channel apart than others, which you mentioned earlier, and you really do some pretty awesome stuff. In fact, it even mentions that in the little promo spew for this book particularly. So,
Very cool.
Yep. Do you once again have a moment where you feel like you may have either failed as a player or DM, and if so, what did you learn from it?
Oh man, I make all sorts of mistakes while DMing.
I hope we all can agree. With that.
Yeah. I think that one I just sort of talked about where, the players got into a fight right away. I don't think that was my mistake. Like, I had to stream ahead of time. It's like, okay, here's how we're going to introduce your character. So I prepped the player, and we've had to introduce new characters before. And so I've warned them, okay, this is a lot easier if you all just decide that your characters get along. So I don't think that was my mistake. I tried to do it right. They just messed up there. For a mistake that I've made recently, let me think about this. Okay. So I think that I tipped my hand once. That we were ending the campaign, right? We knew that we were maybe 4 or 5 sessions out, and so the players were just like casually chatting about the game, and I dropped in there, oh yeah, here's some treasures that you missed. And that just broke their hearts, right?
Yeah.
Saying, okay,
Yeah.
it was almost like me taunting them, like, oh, had you been smarter players, you would have realized this. I didn't mean it that way, but that's how they took
Man.
it. I could tell
Yeah.
I just like deflated them, like, oh, that's why we don't have javelins of lightning. That's why we have such few gold, is because we just missed it. And I think revealing sort of what's going on behind the screen can be done well, and can be a way done that can lift up the players. But telling them treasure that they missed is never the right answer.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll admit, there was one time where for my Monday game, I'm running Princess of the Apocalypse. And and the first entire kind of the fire cult, they of course got nailed by multiple fireballs at once, because fire cult. And I thought to those players, man, you guys will be having much easier time had you found that ring of fire resistance a while back. Wait, there's a what?
Oh no.
But see, that's
But then I'll admit, they started speculating, where did we miss that?
there was a adventure I had once ran, and I'll keep this short. I recorded it, and it was an example of running through this, Crit Academy Trials, I think is what it called. And they basically ran through this tunnel, and the ceiling basically collapsed on them. And at the end of it, one of the players said, "Is like, what would have happened if we didn't have the strength to hold up that ceiling enough for somebody to get out and flip the switch to disable it?" I was like, well, you could have did an investigation. You easily would have found that there's an illusionary wall designed for people to take cover, and has an alternate path around to avoid the trap entirely. And he's like, how would we have found that? And then he kind of started to get upset that he missed that. And I feel like I should have said, well, guess you'll never know, instead of going into the detail of you guys missed this thing and your job was harder because of it. So I will certainly look into that.
Yeah, like there's certainly like some fun to be had, like playing, the players are exasperated and the DM is exasperated at them. Like there's certainly like some fun banter that can be had that way, but it's really, really easy to cross that line into making people feel bad.
Yeah, for sure.
And let's be real, sometimes what you say, you don't know how people are going to react to it too, so.
Yeah. So.
And that's always going to be true no matter what you say.
So now obviously you're here to talk about Galder's, Gazetteer, and Lawrence's story. Can you tell us and the audience about that, please?
All right. So at this point, almost 2 years ago, there was a post made on Reddit. A young guy named Lawrence that very sadly, he had a rare form of cancer and only weeks to live. That he had gone to the doctors complaining of internal pains, and they did, some preliminary tests, and they told him that, he was young and he was healthy. There's nothing to worry about. Nothing was wrong. But eventually they did find a tumor, and by the time they got there, it was too late to do anything for him. Wow. So very sadly, before he passed, he asked the rest of the community if there's something that he could do, right? That if they could take his character, his Galder wizard, and have him be an NPC in their games.
Oh.
Wow. And lots of people did that. Like they took up the call, and now Galder the Wizard is an NPC in hundreds of games, living on in their stories. And so this book goes one step further. What we did was we're like, okay, if this wizard is visiting all these different worlds, surely he would have collected those stories and see how things were done differently in all these different planes of existence and all these different worlds that he's gone and visited as an NPC. And so this book it's a splat book. It's a large collection of different classes and races, character options and variant rules. And it's all dedicated to this character's memory and this Lawrence's memory. And we are donating all the proceeds from the book. All the money that I am getting from it is going to the Cancer Research Institute. Okay. So far, we've raised over $10,000
nice.
in the past month and a half.
Yeah, that's awesome. Holy cow.
That is.
Yeah, it's the top seller on DriveThruRPG. Link in the description, I hope.
Yeah.
We can make that happen. It's in our show notes. I will get that in there as well. If you'd like to follow along as we're having this discussion, you can enter critacademy.com, and there's the link to those show notes in the blog there. Yes, I will make sure that's dropped. Actually, I will ask my distant wife to drop that if she can for me.
Not a pledge.
So that's the premise of the book, right? So if you flip through it, there's all sorts of little like notes and sidebars, like how in Xanathar's or in Volo's, there's like notes from like Volo and Xanathar in here. So in here, there are notes like written by Galder and all the stuff in here.
Gotcha.
And so that's one part of it. You're sort of a splat book. There's lots of subclasses and new ancestries and things like that.
Right.
But like I said, this book is for advanced players because my channel is for advanced users of the system.
For sure.
And so I went like one step further. Not only is it there are 3 new class options and a bunch of subclasses and things like that, there are also variant classes. So instead of just having variant class features, what we did was we ripped out a whole bunch of features and replaced them brand new. So it's a different core class, a different expression of that class's core identity.
Yeah.
So there's a variant rogue, variant wizard, all sorts of cool stuff like that.
Yeah,
variant bard.
I that was one of the things that I just thought was amazing, because there are some classes that just really needed a remake.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
I think the execution that the writers did was phenomenal.
Speaking of that, a lot of our favorite sections is like the expanded rule set. So like the new conditions, new actions, martial attacks, even like some new rules for falling.
Exactly. So if we're going to rebuild like some of these core classes, we can probably do it with other stuff. So there's also an expanded rule set. There are 7 new conditions that you can go ahead and inflict upon your players. You can become so, there's the burned condition, which imparts a vulnerability to a damage. There's the dulled condition, which represents like your loss of your mind, things like that. There is the doomed condition, which calls you towards the grave.
Can I just say, I love the inclusion of the bloodied condition.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
That is one of my favorite mechanics out of 4E, and I think you nailed it really well.
I mean, shoot, a lot of people still use it anyway.
Yeah, as a good reference point.
I also like the idea of...
In addition to the 7 new conditions... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I really do like the inclusion of the doomed condition, because, these people find some terrible things. Like, it's going to be that way.
The one that I really like is Despondent. That is one that I use a lot in my game.
Can you tell
it's sort of an attack on someone's sense of psyche and self. Sort of like the Dementors from Harry Potter when Frodo puts on the ring. It's sort of a supernatural manifestation of like depression and gloom.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Because a lot of the time, fantasy is used to explore, psychological phenomena, right?
Yeah.
And so we sort of manifest that in different ways. And so in this way, this is another way to manifest sort of that feeling of perpetual hopelessness.
Yes, and it does it pretty mechanically. It does it really, really well. So the one thing I really want to talk about is what was the thought in coming up with the new actions? Because that was something that really stood out to me, and it's not something I had ever thought to explore.
Yeah, so I guess I wanted this to be the most innovative expansion out there, the most innovative third-party product. So in addition to those 7 new conditions, there are 4 new actions and 1 reaction. And this is going to be for advanced players. I knew that a lot of people were harking for more things to do in combat. And I thought, well, there's a couple of ways to do that. If you want more actions if you want more things to do in combat, you can either expand the weapon set, or you can probably expand the things they're able to do. The Dungeon Master's Guide has a lot of things, some suggestions for expanded options, but they run into a problem. In the Dungeon Master's Guide, none of those new actions are integrated anywhere else in the rest of the system. They're an optional plugin.
Yes.
So what this book does is it takes those new conditions and those new actions and it integrates them throughout all the subclasses, all the races, all the the spells and the adventures. They all have examples of how to use these expansions like in play.
Right.
So they're not just sitting there on a shelf, they're fully integrated into the text and into the product.
And I think that's good too, because yes, DMG does include a lot of extra stuff, but not everybody's actually going to even touch a DMG, let alone buy one. Especially those who are just players and not a dungeon master.
Right.
Yeah. So something like Sunder right here, like you've always had somebody try to knock away a piece of equipment or try to break something, right?
Oh, yeah.
There are already rules in 5th edition for how equipment could break.
Right.
This just codifies it and gives the players a reliable way to do it.
Yep.
The other one is the escape action. The escape action it's very loose. It's like the hide action. It's really dependent on the DM. So it's not very hard as in terms of rules. But what it does, it allows the players, it constantly keeps that in their mind that there's a way we can reliably get out of initiative. They know how to put themselves in initiative. You just punch the guard. But how to get yourself out of initiative is normally something in the Dungeon Master's purview. So I was thinking like, Japanese RPGs, this is something they always include to give the players, it hard codes a way for the players to, GTFO.
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, you're right.
Even in Pokemon gave you an escape rope to get the hell
they're
out
like,
of Dodge.
hey, you can run.
It is an option.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. So the other thing I want to really talk about, and we did a project called Weapon Perks, where each weapon had a unique kind of mechanics, so there was more than just the die roll.
I should
that
really
made it...
run a sickle player. And now that I think about that, thank you for reminding me.
You're welcome. That's how I roll.
I thank you because it was so cool.
So I noticed, and this really tickled my dice as far as products, when I got to the section on martial attacks. So not only did you give us extra things to do with our actions, you gave us like almost maneuvers that anybody with a melee weapon can do.
This is something not anyone with a melee weapon. It routes through the extra attack action.
Oh, I didn't
So
even
only
notice
movers can
that.
do it.
And so only people that can get the extra attack can do it. Do you want to tell us about some of those?
Yeah, so this is, I mean, not to toot my own horn too much, but this is something that I'm particularly proud of. What these martial attacks do is that if you take the attack action, they give you something you can trade your extra attack for. That second attack is a resource you can spend to do cool things. And it's depending on what weapons you're using. So you can do a staggering bash if you are doing a bludgeoning weapon. So after you hit, you can spend your extra attack to do something in addition. Arcing slice, after you attack and hit, you can use that extra attack to do something in addition to everyone around you. The deep stab, like once you hit somebody, you can use your extra attack to drive your dagger deeper. The expert snipe works the other way for ranged weapons. You can trade both of your attacks to put one well-aimed attack in there. So in case you're like, well, I want to spend my whole turn to get like a really good shot in, you have a method for doing that. And I think that really fulfills the fantasy for people who want to play those ranged snipers.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we when we did Capes and Crooks, one of the enhancements we had was like a sniping one called like aim shot or something like that, where you give up additional actions to not only significantly increase your chance to hit, but it boosts the damage a little bit to offset the fact that you're going to take probably one less attack. But it works best if you can get the extra attack feature. So
I'm like super
cool.
excited to see what you did there. I love the idea that you ripped out the subclasses and are doing like a hero progression instead. I think that's super cool.
Well,
I think that's super cool.
If anybody's watching and doesn't know, if you head on over the Kickstarter, you can actually get a full free playtest of Proof of Concept right now. So
please download it. Please, kickstart it, and please give us feedback. We want to make the best product we can make.
I want to give a huge shout out to Alan. I'm not gonna give his last name because I don't want to. It's not public,
for sure.
But
Yeah.
He has sent me a laundry list of mistakes that I've made. Obviously, the playtest hadn't gone through editor, but I want to thank him for giving me some feedback. So keep it up. Anyway, so I didn't mean to distract from that, but
I got excited too. It's okay. I'm really excited for your Kickstarter. Hope everyone who's listening, go do that right now.
Yes.
Do it
now.
Leave it to you.
The counter increased up a little bit. That's very nice.
Yeah, so that's those are the core expansions. Front of the rules right here. We have you new conditions, new actions, and then new martial attacks. And those are integrated throughout the whole book, and the variant classes, and in all the other stuff in there.
Right.
Yep. And we already touched on it a little bit, but obviously the Galder's Gazetteer adds a lot of player options. How many are there? And which is your favorite?
So there are 3 full classes. I think there are like 40 subclasses, something like that.
There's a lot.
40.
There's a lot in here, yeah.
It's something. Oh man, I don't have the exact count, but it's a lot. There's at least 24 ancestries, all sorts of fun stuff. So the 3 full classes, I really like them. The first one is the Rebel. And right away, what I like about the Rebel is as soon as I say that, you know who that character is in the world, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you know, like, okay, I can imagine who this person is in the fiction right away.
Right.
And so the Rebel is like a warlord from 4th edition, but I think this has a stronger story attached to it. Like, what is a first level warlord? Like, why are they in charge of anything if they're a first level character?
Right.
And what's a 10th level fighter if not a warlord? But I think a rebel has a much stronger story progression. You can imagine what they are at first level. You can imagine what they are at 10th level.
Yeah. Is there because there was a lot of great work done on when it comes to the mechanics in the playtest. Were there any significant changes that needed to be done with this class during the playtest? As far as mechanics?
This one got moved around a lot. It first came out as a suggestion on the Iconoclass. That's what the original submitter did. Then I gave it over to Chris Honkala, a Treant monk, and he took her stuff and did the first draft on that. And then it went out to public playtesting. With that public playtesting, we got a lot of feedback. We found out a lot of stuff that people weren't liking. It wasn't really playing really well. And then we did like a second internal playtest. I ran like 4 adventures with a rebel in it. We had another group running stuff with the rebel in it. We got that feedback, and then we tweaked it to this this final version.
Right.
There are 2 subclasses. You can be a heretic or an insurrectionist. So the heretic is trying to like overthrow a religious order, and the insurrectionist is trying to overthrow the current establishment.
I love that.
I like that a lot.
Let's go.
So
start a
what you do
mutiny.
with the rebel is you form a soul covenant, right? Find a group of people, and you spend 1 hour proclaiming your convictions to them. And then you can, once these people are in your soul covenant, you can share your powers with them, and they can share powers with you. You can learn some of their skills. You can gain proficiency with like their weapons and armor. You can see through their eyes.
Oh,
That's
And
awesome.
so as a martial support character at 5th level, you do not get extra attack. Instead, you get coordinated strike. So when you take the attack action, an ally gets an attack too.
Nice.
That is
Yeah.
a way better take on the Commander Strike maneuver than the Commander Strike maneuver. I'm gonna be honest, because one of the big issues
Yeah.
with that is it consumes specific resources, and it consumes the bonus action as well, and the action. So to be able to still make an attack and then give up your extra attack to let the rogue or somebody else take the attack action
raging
is
barbarian.
awesome. Yes. And that,
With a rogue.
with the rogue.
Yeah.
There's also a cool combo in here that I want to point out. So your currency is conviction points.
Okay, cool.
And so at 2nd level, you get this feature, which is kind of busted, right? It's when you take the help action, in addition to getting an advantage, that person also adds your proficiency bonus to the roll,
I did see that.
Damn.
It's very cool.
right?
Savage.
And then
cool.
there's a feature that lets you spend 1 conviction point and then help as a bonus action. So if you spend 1 of your resources, you help as a bonus action. That person gets advantage, add your proficiency bonus on, and then when you take the attack action, boom, they get on their same turn. They're just pretty much hitting.
Nice.
Huh.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's some power level stuff there. I really like that. That's
I-
very well done.
Yeah.
It's a
So
very
the names of the features are really cool. Like I think the top level one's like Rebel Commander. I think that's sick.
A lot of so there's a lot of stuff in this book. I just got to say
Yeah.
that first of all. I think that you guys did a phenomenal job. Inside there's aside from all the fantastic player options, there are a lot of variant rules. Can you kind of give us the audience a few examples of some of the most notable variant rules?
Oh yeah, so I'm sorry. So that's chapter 1 is all the player options, right? And then you get into to
Yeah.
part 2, which is the GM toolkit. So we gave you all of these new rules to play with, and we want to integrate them somehow. And so in the GM toolkit, we give you environmental templates, like things that you can slap on top of your combat environment. So you should know how like a legendary monster has layer actions.
Right.
So these are sort of essentially layer actions that can happen anywhere. Like if you happen to be traveling through the abyss, here's what that would look like. Or if you want to be in a carnivorous swamp, an icy plain, a dry desert, something like that.
Yeah.
These are environmental elements you can lay on there.
Right.
And again, all those conditions and things like that are integrated into those things.
very cool.
Very cool stuff.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's just we can't like I it really does speak to how you are as a content creator, because like we are all I would hope anyway, I would like to assume I am one, because I don't know, I've been playing for a little while now, an advanced player or DM at this like this specific table right here. So this is just like candy. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I'm
you're
loving this.
spoon-feeding
I'm just like,
us.
please just give me more options. I just want to do cool things and have cool things done to me.
like
Yeah, and then
McDonald's
there are
online.
monster templates too, right? Well, if we have all these new actions and conditions, we need to have ways for monsters to inflict them.
Mhm.
So instead of writing like a bazillion stat blocks, they made templates that you can just slap onto other monsters.
It's kind of like
So you can have a mischief maker goblin or a mischief maker treant or something like that.
it's kind of like using like an algebraic formula. You're just kind of like making a new one. You're like, just put monster here, put stats here, and you're gonna get this. Just do that all the time. You don't have to do anything else. Just do that.
Can
There's also like lots of stuff that people are looking for, because a lot of the Kickstarter's funded by people's submissions. Remember, so when Galder
Right.
visits all these worlds, he collects the information there and he writes about it. So we have a little essay on how to harvest monsters, and we have rules for that. Things like fighting underwater or heroic training.
I did see one about
how things
underwater
might be
fighting.
done differently in different worlds. So there's a whole bunch of variant rules and that will, things that you can tweak your game with, or
Right.
things that people are saying, I really don't like this, so I'm gonna go ahead and submit this idea of how I've been doing it at my table. It's like took the very best home rules from these people, went them through playtesting, developed them, and just all sorts of stuff that people have been begging for, now have options for.
That's awesome. What kind of challenges did you actually run into making all of this? Because I imagine there was a lot, and I guess after that, how did you overcome them?
So this was a huge project. Like, if you look at the credit section, there's 20 people involved in it. A huge deal. And so one of the biggest challenges was coordinating everything. The person who does my art direction is Matt Perkins, who is a great layout, he was the layout artist, Matt Perkins. He's a YouTuber, lives in Australia. The art director was Anto from Icarus Minis. He also has a YouTube channel. And so coordinating, and we were the three big brains on this. In order to get anything done, layout, art, and senior editing all need to get together.
Mm-hmm.
And coordinate that across the globe was a major challenge.
I imagine time zones were awful to you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to actually
and then again,
do some,
there was
sorry,
all these people submitted content, right? But not all of it was the same grade. It came in at different levels of quality.
yes.
Some people are really good homebrewers. They do this stuff pretty seriously, and it was great. Like, okay, beautiful, slap it out to play testing.
Mm-hmm.
Other folks, it was just an idea that they gave us, so I had to do all the writing then.
Yeah.
Or actually, not. I did all the writing. Of course, I hired people to do writing for the book.
For sure.
And so that's another challenge, was dealing with all those contractors.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to hire you to write this much material. I'm going to hire you to edit this much material, and then making sure everything got to playtesting, back from playtesting, revised, and then into the book is a huge undertaking.
I can only imagine.
And I would imagine the back and forth between playtesting and what people's takes were could get complex as well at times too.
Yeah, especially because when you're reading playtest feedback, so this is the way I set it up, is Mike from Thinking DM. I don't know if you read his blog. It's an excellent blog.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
He was our playtest manager, and so he was serving as the voice of the customer. I felt because I was so involved in the design and the actual writing of it, I wouldn't be able to look at the feedback with an unbiased eye.
For sure.
So I'm like, okay, your job is to go through all this feedback, tell me what the customer is thinking, tell me what the people who are actually playing it really want, and I will go ahead and make those corrections. I'll go ahead and make those adjustments. And so that was kind of nifty, just having to trust the fact that he is looking at this with a discerning eye. He is fishing through, okay, did this person not really understand the rule? Did this person play it versus just read it?
Mm-hmm.
And just sort of taking myself away from that and just being able to implement the feedback, I think was really useful.
Oh yeah.
Ian?
And after all that, what is one piece of advice you would give to our listeners here at Crit Nation?
I know it's hard to give
one
only
piece of advice for what, like trying to publish a book?
Yes, or in general.
Yes.
So, as a advanced educator in the Dungeon Master world.
Oh man, I think my best piece of advice would be to never assume that you're sure of something, and to always to be questioning your assumptions. Because I think that's when you sort of walk into a lot of trouble, is because when you assume that you are absolutely correct on something, or assume that you possess some sort of knowledge, or sort of do things without thinking because that's what you feel you're supposed to do, or you've heard you're supposed to do, you run into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So being really critical with your own intentions before you act, or being really mindful of what you're doing and why, will go a long way.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's some great advice. So with that, we're running out of our main topic time. I would like to say before we move on to our tips and tricks, I absolutely love this product. I think you've done amazing work. The
Incredible.
team has done the amount of work you had to do to get people together. I know how hard that is when I got to work with like 4 people. So I cannot imagine trying to micromanage a team. I can't. I have my wife to help with all that stuff. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we had to bring in a lot of people because we wanted to have a whole cast of writers. We wanted to get like all sorts of different perspectives and ideas
For sure.
right into the book.
Big benefits that come with that. So
Yeah.
Uh,
Clearly.
if you guys haven't already swung over and checked it out, please consider picking up Galder's Gazetteer. Obviously, it is amazing content. It's got amazing craftsmanship. and more importantly, the profits go to an absolutely amazing cause, cancer research. So please head on and consider picking it up as soon as possible. I also highly recommend you to check out Zipperon Disney's YouTube page. I love your content. I watch it whenever I get a moment, which honestly isn't as often as I would like, but that's life.
Yeah.
So,
Life does get in the way.
with that, I think we'll move on to our Unearthed Tips and Tricks segment.
Excellent.
And now, what you've all been waiting for. Our Unearthed Tips and Tricks segment, where we bring you new and reusable material for both players and DMs.
Oh, that is the wrong button. My bad, people.
How dare you?
It happens.
We're only human.
For our Unearthed Tips and Tricks,
Or mortals, I guess.
Zipperon, you said you have a character concept you're going to share with us today?
Yes, I do. So this character is a veteran.
Love
We love
It
veterans.
is a mix of 2 classes from Galder's Gazetteer.
Of course.
It is a few levels of a dragonborn fighter.
Okay.
And with the dragonborn subclasses is these are people who have studied the fighting tactics of dragons or were conscripted into a tyrant dragon's army.
Okay.
So for a while, this person was a conscript or fighting alongside this evil dragon, and then they decided to go against it. And so they multi-classed into rebel.
I love
And
it.
now they're trying to fight and undo this tyrant dragon that's about to take over the land.
That's dope.
That is cool as
So
hell.
out of this person, this person is a quarter elf, right? So they're mechanically a human, but they still have just a few elf features. They're kind of spacey sometimes, or they always look like they're really thinking really hard. They have trouble sleeping. They have
didn't
a
even think
large
about that.
scar that goes across the side of their head from when an arrow hit them in the side of the helmet and then went around the back.
Oh,
So
that's
they had
cool.
a very, very near miss with death, and they have the scar right there to remind them of it.
Nothing about the plate mail meme.
Yeah. Yes, and that was the moment that sort of broke them from their allegiance to the dragon and just set them on the path to becoming a rebel. And so their motivation is to maybe internally to make amends for what they've done, but externally to get people's approval. That overcoming personal shame for some people requires a lot of external support. So once all these other people agree with them that they're a great rebel leader, that he did the great thing, and then he'll actually be. That's how he's going to alleviate himself of this thing that he felt he did wrong.
I love it.
That is
fantastic.
awesome.
Thank you for sharing it. Does this character have a name?
Oh, you know what?
His name's no
Let's go
Steve.
ahead and pick one out real fast.
Oh, I love it.
Ah.
Okay, here we go.
I love me some generators.
Yeah,
Or reference
we'll call him
tables.
Turia.
Turia, the veteran
Turia.
rebel. I love it. Thank you for bringing us that character concept, Zipperon.
Very cool. I could see it being used in
Yeah.
as like a really good like story-driven point. As in, like he's the reason you go in and do these things.
Yeah, and I see this kind of as like in my mind, more of an anti-hero type person.
For sure.
Because obviously he started fighting, for in somebody evil, so they're gonna kind of have that mindset, even though they're trying to change their ways or whatever. But I very much get a Deadpool vibe from this character, just like I'm out to bring you down, bastard.
Now give me your XP.
Yeah.
Give me your XP. All right, that'll do it for our character concept. Our monster variant of the podcast is the Cave Worm. So in order to make the Cave Worm, you're going to start with the young blue dragon stat block, but you're going to lose some features. The intelligence is going to go way down. We don't want this. We want this to be a beast. So drop it down. We're going to lose the lightning breath, the lightning immunity. It cannot fly. It can no longer burrow. Its burrow becomes 80 feet instead of whatever it already was. Its size becomes huge. Let's make it bigger. And the AC lowered down to 16. And it loses one of its 3 attacks because we have to maintain balance
It's not
and all
two.
of that stuff, which Zipperon can attest to, right? So what are some of the new features we're going to give him? We're going to give him Tremor Sense because,
It's a worm.
Very weak.
But the Cave Worm is got an aura called Darkness Aura. The cave worm can generate an aura of magical darkness out to 15-foot radius sphere around itself. Oh, the darkness.
And it's huge.
Yes!
And it's a huge thing, by the way, so it's very large.
The darkness spreads around corners, and a creature with dark vision cannot see through the darkness, and non-magical light can illuminate it. If
Magical darkness.
any of this aura overlaps with an area of light created by a spell of second level or lower, poof, it's dispelled.
That means unless you have double sight, you have disadvantage attacking this thing.
Yes. Now,
Pretty
imagine this thing like just popping out, and all you see is black shadow. Like it would be monster of horror dreams and nightmares. You know.
Oh yeah.
We have to give it some additional stuff because we did make it a worm. We're going to give it Earth Glide, so it can glide through stone, dirt, and any sort of other earth except metal as easily as a fish glides through water. It burrows, produce no ripple or sign of its presence, and leaves no tunnel or hole unless the cave worm chooses to do so. In that case, it creates a passageway 15 foot wide by 10 feet high. I feel like that should be a little bigger. I should have probably rechecked that. The spell Move Earth, cast on an area containing the earth gliding cave worm, flings it to the creature back 30 feet and stuns the creature for 1 round unless it succeeds a Constitution saving throw of the caster's DC. Now let's talk about some of the bitchin' ass powers that this thing gets, because I'm a bastard and I like tough. So we obviously are going to give it a bite because it's a worm. It's about all it can do is bite, right?
Yeah, just about.
And so
Except
we're
for
gonna
this one.
I can flail.
Aside from so when it bites, it must a creature that it bites that is medium or larger. Actually, I think it was supposed to be large. I don't think I adjusted that. A creature of large or smaller must succeed on a DC 16 Dexterity saving throw or be swallowed by the worm. A creature is blinded and restrained and has total cover against attacks from outside the worm and takes 46 acid damage at the start of each of the worm's turns. If the worm takes 20 or more damage in a single turn from inside, it must succeed a Constitution saving throw of 16 or regurgitate whatever it swallowed. Now, reactions. I love reactions. I love layer actions. This is big. We want it to be badass. We want to be powerful. So we're going to give it a reaction. It's going to have Acid Bath that recharges. This is the first time I played with recharge on a reaction. So be gentle with me. When a creature hits the worm with a melee attack, it can use its reaction to spew bubbling acid onto the target and each creature within 5 feet area of the target, and they must succeed a DC 16 con save. Once again, I'm attacking con a lot here because people don't put enough into con. Anyway,
They really don't.
I
agree.
They must succeed the DC 16 or take 4d10 acid damage. The acid lingers in the affected area for up to 1 minute. A creature that starts or ends its turn must basically repeat the saving throw or take the damage. So now, this big thing, not only can you not see, but there's acid puddles everywhere that you can step in. So now, of course, we're going to give it a layer action. So we're going to give
It is a giant worm after all.
We're going to give it the collapse ceiling. So any area it can see within 120 feet shakes and rumbles, and targets take 3d6 damage and is knocked prone, or half as much damage. It is not restrained. The creature is not restrained if it makes a DC 16 dexterity saving throw. The creature is freed when it or an adjacent ally uses an action of a DC 16 strength to pull it out. The worm bellows, summoning a swarm of insects as if it had cast the insect plague, filling a room. So now you can't see. There's acid on the floor, and there's insects just swarming at you.
And there's stuff falling from the sky.
And the creatures are affected in a space take 4d10 piercing damage. They're half as much on a successful DC 16 Constitution save. Now, I know that's a lot, but that's what you get when you have a big, badass boss monster. So,
yes.
I did include rules for regional effects. I think that's what?
And those entries are already long.
Yes. So I'm not going to bother getting too much into it. Consider lots of poisonous falling gas and stuff that can be vermin and insects up to 6 miles or whatever around the worm. So, holy crap, I'm sorry that was so long, you guys. What do you guys think about this bastard? And I promise its powers are within the CR rating.
Which is 9, by the way.
Yes.
So my immediate reaction, because as everyone knows on this show, is I like to think like, okay, now how would one of my characters that I'm currently playing would go against this thing?
Vanish.
And I'm immediately thinking, fuck, I don't know how to deal with this thing because it's a huge fucking worm. I don't, and I can't see it. I'm a little lost here, so I don't know.
What about you, Zipperon?
It's great.
I think the first thing that came to my mind is this is going to be a really memorable fight.
Oh yeah.
This huge monster that no one can see what's going on in it, so it's going to be really confusing.
It's just
They're
chaotic.
going to be constantly like shifting in terrain, right? Sometimes going up in the tunnel, sometimes going down. So that's going to be like really fun and confusing for them too. And when they realize, I think everyone has this desire to fight the giant worm. And I don't think, and so when you do encounter it, you want it to be really, really memorable.
For sure.
And I think this provides something that's a lot more. It has a lot more of those touchstone moments than the purple worm stat block does. So, I'm gonna be filing this one away.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you. So the one thing that I particularly wanted to, the reason I built this with the darkness aura, because I wanted my wizard to regret not taking Dispel Magic. Because if they don't go prepared, it's going to be way harder. But there are ways to make this not nearly as dangerous and strong, but the characters have to come up with that strategy. Specifically the details for the move Earth spell.
I love that. That's very like
play.
old school. It's like, well, if you use this one particular spell,
Yes.
here's how you can fight it. And it gives, if you do that sort of stuff a lot, it rewards the players for thinking ahead. It rewards them for having a ranger who can think about this kind of information. It rewards them for having someone who goes to the library and studies.
Yep.
Giving the characters the ability to plan ahead and then building in things that reward them ahead of time for planning ahead
Right.
is, I just love it.
Would Dispel Magic actually work?
It says it's a magical effect, so I'm going to say yes. Because it's specifically worded as a magical effect.
Fair enough.
But it's not typically a spell, but I think Dispel Magic would still
I think it would apply.
apply.
I could
So-
see it.
Right.
All right, that'll do it for our insane, massive monster of destruction, the cave worm. I would like to say, if you like this monster, there is going to be a fully fleshed out, detailed stat block with lore and character knowledge. That's part of the weekly PDFs my patrons get. So consider supporting us at patreon.com/CritAcademy.
Absolutely.
All right, that'll do it for our long ass monster.
Now we're on to the encounter. So the encounter of the podcast is, honey, I shrunk the guests. Now, the characters are resting at the local popular inn. The stay is pretty standard. When the characters go to bed, many of the guests are still up into the night. A guest at the inn named Ratchet Greystone, a rock gnome artificer, is hard at work. He is building a special device that allows him to shrink items and restore them with ease. I wonder what that sounds like. He plans to join the trade business, as his device can allow merchants to carry much more product due to reduced weight in space. While making some adjustments to his device, releases a burst of energy that reduces all creatures in the inn, must succeed on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the creature's size is reduced to tiny, much like a certain movie. The characters, some or all now small, must investigate the cause of their transformation and help Ratchet get the now short-circuited device repaired to return everyone to full size. Meanwhile, the local inn becomes a death trap of now monstrous insects and creatures. Additionally, their size makes them difficult to see, so even regular foot traffic becomes a huge problem.
Boom.
So if anyone...
Get the boot.
So if anyone's ever watched the movie, yeah, just run with it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Zipperon?
I love it. This is a great idea for a one-shot, or for like
For
you're running a
sure.
long campaign, you want like a break, just insert this right in there. I think
yeah.
it's the sort of scenario that everyone can like immediately latch onto. Like I think everyone has that like that sort of like mouse guard fantasy, right? That okay, what would it be like to be like really, really tiny and walk around with a giant spool of thread and use a pen for a spear and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of fiction already built in people's imaginations of how they would do this, and give them the chance to play that out. I think the players would be absolutely delighted.
Yeah.
You're like trying to make a homemade ballista with a rubber band and a pen.
Yes, exactly,
And it's just
exactly.
like,
They want
cool.
to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have to like all of a sudden like we mentioned the minuscule insects and stuff are like these ginormous monstrosities that they're.
Yeah, I would never want to go against an ant that is the size of a house in comparison to me now. Like, I would never. A praying mantis would be horrifying.
yeah,
They
you
already
think-
kill things the size of, like, small animals.
Oh my gosh, they have like super strength.
And spiders and birds and a long list of other things. It's like a
Like-
lot more dangerous.
Like just basic cobwebs would be like difficult terrain, like giant little cracks in the wood floor become massive canyons.
I love it.
Just sounds like so much fun.
It's just fun.
One of our guys in chat said, would the spell raise those things shrink as well? Because imagine a tiny wizard popping off a 40-foot fireball. When they're 1 inch tall.
The druid gets to ride on the back of a squirrel.
This is a really fun concept.
question,
And
actually.
hopefully, was it? Oh, it was.
Well, I mean,
No, the guy actually did ask, so what happens when a wizard now casts fireball? Is it still 40 feet?
I'm assuming it would. Okay, I would assume we would have to do everything to scale, because
I hadn't really thought that far ahead. I just thought it would be cool to have a.
But I mean, if
shrunken
not, I
kids
mean
with-
that's essentially like firing. off a
APK waiting to
nuke.
happen.
What you
Yeah.
could do is you could in the Dungeon Master Guide, there are rules for thresholds for monsters and stuff. Maybe when they're shrunk, there becomes thresholds for everything that's normal size. So in order to actually do damage to a giant person, you have to do X amount of damage first with whatever you have in order to even begin inflicting damage beyond something superficial.
Okay.
I didn't ask how big the room was. I cast fireball. Yeah, but keep in mind, you were inside the room, even if you were only 1 inch tall.
So, all right, I think that'll do it for our encounter of the concept. Honey, I Shrunk the Guests.
Our magic item today, once again, comes from Galder's Gazetteer, the Chalice of Will. Wondrous item, legendary, and it requires attunement. Once per day, when liquid is poured into this chalice, you can cause one of the following effects to be applied. It is purified, any poison is removed and turned into holy water.
Wow.
It can become poison, and when ingested, a DC 22 con save
Damn.
is required. And when you fail, you take 8d10 poison damage and gain the doomed condition. Or it can become a potion of greater healing, which suddenly sounds really lame in comparison to the other two after reading this out loud.
I mean, yeah, but
Only one dose of liquid can be applied at a time, and if you use the chalice to transform a second dose, the first one loses the properties gained.
okay.
I love this.
Joking aside, greater healing is still a pretty good potion to have.
Yes,
Yes.
but the idea that the players can now become like, in my mind, this is definitely for an espionage sort of infiltration type adventure that I would make sure my players got this bad boy, because you got to take out the Duke. Well, he's surrounded by 1,000 guards. I don't know that we can do that. Well, I've got this that we can get this. I heard there's this rare chalice in this temple that can not only cure poisons but can also create them. Maybe we go get that and find a way to give it to him as a gift.
I was gonna say because it probably looks beautiful if it's a legendary item, so you can
Yes,
just be like,
it's
yes,
gorgeous.
here, I give you this.
Oh.
But you
Uh,
still have attunement to it, so you're
Right,
just like, yeah, well,
Zipperon, this is right from your product. What are your thoughts?
So this is a specialty story item in the book that comes with 2 adventures, and this is from the 15th level adventure. So the players have to go to a dungeon, collect the 4 MacGuffins, and save the world. And this is the one of the items that we give the players. At the first part of the adventure, they face an impossible foe in a nightmare form, right? Like, oh my gosh, if we don't do something, we're gonna die. And so they have to go collect one of these special items to go kill the monster. And so that's what it's there for. You're either going to pour the poison down its throat and deal massive amounts of damage, or I just gave you the one healing item that's in the adventure.
Huh.
I loved it. It was something I hadn't really seen before, and I think it was done pretty well. So kudos to the creator of this bad boy. So, I think that'll
Awesome.
do it for our magic item. Zipperon, would you like to tell us about our Dungeon Master tip? That's also from Galder's Gazetteer.
All right. So the life of adventure is one that is full of surprises and challenges. And a simple quest becomes significantly more interesting by adding a simple complication. So when you are going to a quest, you roll on the complication chart just to make it a little bit more difficult to get the MacGuffin. It's a 1d12 table. I'm gonna go ahead and run through those. Maybe the object has been incorporated into a giant wasp nest.
Yes.
Again, This is if you're going on a fetch quest, this complicates the fetch quest when you get there.
Yeah.
The thing that you look seeking has been incorporated into a giant wasp nest. The object has been replaced with a phony. Rival adventurers are after the same object. There's a hostile force between the party and the location. Like there's an army standing between you and the goal. The location isn't where the party thinks it is. You're supposed to go to the west side of town, and oops, your city's over. The location you're visiting has been infested with fungus, and now it's dangerous for you.
Gross.
A special key is needed to unlock the door, and the party doesn't know it until they arrive. Like in Skyrim, like you go to the dungeon and you don't have the ruby dragon claw, you're like,
oh my gosh, that's horrible.
gotta go back and get it. And that gives the dungeon a chance to reset.
Barbarian casts fists.
Yeah. So this one, a puzzle that's supposed to be used to access the object is broken. Like you're supposed to like undo the vault or something, like solve the puzzle, but another adventuring party's been there first and they didn't like it, so they just broke it and attempted to fix it.
And they just left because they couldn't get it open.
Yeah,
Or
like, screw this, the barbarian just pushes it over.
or if
and
they
now the
couldn't get it
puzzle's
open, they left to get somebody that can fix it. And now you're there and you got to do the same thing. So by the time you come back, somebody already fixed it and already took what you're looking for.
Or you got a very handy rogue.
Yeah. Or the object could have attracted the attention of a planar entity, so there's like a sphinx or an angel there just chilling. Only creatures of a specific alignment can enter the location or touch the object. Like it has to be like a lawful good person to enter this specific like chamber in order to retrieve it. So therefore you have to have like only a good person can get it back out.
I would say it would be better as only an evil person can do it.
I was gonna say,
yeah,
I run an evil character, so I'm like, well, that sucks.
Because I feel like that
Just
would be a
bonk
really.
into a wall.
I mean, it's well, the lawful thing is it's something certainly that comes up often because people who play paladins tend to do that, though they're not required to.
Right.
Making a group of adventurers go to reclaim an item, but nobody that's good can touch it, means they have to acquire the help of somebody they know is shitty and terrible. And
That's
that
a really
just
good point. That's an
sounds
awesome idea.
Like,
Look,
all
I may
right.
be evil, but I have principles.
So,
Lawful
I didn't
evil is a
interrupt,
fun
but I'm
time,
just
guys.
like that. Just had my head rolling.
All right. See now, the other one is the location is a boundary between planes, and the party phases over by accident.
Whoops.
Like you accidentally step into the Shadowfell, and now you can't get back.
Oh man.
Or the location requires a death of a person in order to access it.
Avengers, anybody?
Yeah.
So,
Hang out town? Do you have a condemned prisoner?
see this. So there was a couple of these that really. The reason I wanted to include this is because this really got my brain cooking because they're general enough that you can apply them across many different situations. It mentions incorporating the item into a wasp nest. It could just be as easy. It's dumped into a vat of poison or something like that, and it makes it very versatile. But the ones that are that can create moral ambiguity, like the location requires the death to access, is something that's amazing. Because in my mind, that should create a sort of situation. But then in my mind, I think of people like Ian. I'd be like, hey, Austin, I'm going to kill your character. We're going to get in. Then I'll just revivify you when we're done. They're like, oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
like, I feel like...
I was thinking they could find like an old like widow who's about to pass and just like, carry her there.
just wait. Put up a magnificent mansion and just wait. So, I don't have anywhere else to be. So, anyways, I love
They become
this.
death doulas.
I love this. It was one of my favorite segments in the book, not because I think that it was not hard to create. It was not hard to create, but I think it gave me the most. Why didn't I think of that moment? And
Almost like inspiration.
yes, it enhanced. It can enhance this one little table. Can enhance every encounter that I am going to run.
Yeah,
Indefinitely.
for sure.
And that because of that, it had to be in here. So thank you to whoever the team or member or whoever wrote this segment out.
All right, so I know that we're running out of time here, but there's another random table in the book that I love. It's the one for unusual doors.
Yes.
Like if you're going through a dungeon, things that make it just a little bit different. My favorite one is a door that only opens if you tell it a joke, and it only understands knock-knock jokes.
Oh my God, that's great. We did an episode on Deadly Dungeon Doors, and that was certainly not one of the things that was in it.
Yeah.
You gotta not only tell it a joke, it has to be a knock-knock joke. Imagine trying to leave lore and tidbits and rumors about that. Like that would how would you do that? Like engage the Man, that's
I
awesome.
think it's a
love
puzzle.
that.
I think eventually they'll figure it out and then just like roll their eyes.
Yeah,
They're
that's-
Like, what
damn
kind
it.
of joke would a door like?
A knock joke.
as
Oh
a
my
player,
God.
my eyes would just glaze over. I'd be like, oh
Like,
my
I'm done
god,
with this
god
shit.
fucking damn it. This fucking guy.
All right, that'll do it for our DM tip. Let's complicate things. Our player tip of the podcast is
Don't be a dick!
and we did it all in unison for the first time over a year. Thank you very much.
Finally.
Yeah.
Today we're
Dream
going
delays
to
are
talk
green.
about monstrous desires. You can avoid dickitude by including monstrous desires in your games. Meeting a monster doesn't always have to mean a fight shall ensue, people. A simple offering like food or gold can calm some of the most hostile of enemies. As an adventurer, you can spend time researching and learning what sorts of desires specific creatures have, or NPCs, or monsters, or whatever it is. But let's be honest, most wolves just want something to eat, while a thug may just want something in his coin purse. What's fantastic about this is that not only does it make for great narrative, but it can truly catch your game master off guard. I mean, think about how noisy and cheeky the oh god, I lost my spot. I don't even know what I wrote. Oh, okay. I got it now. Think about how noisy and creaky the joints of an ancient construct must be. A dangerous. So think about that. So you guys hold up. You got this guy who's been standing here for 1,000 years, and when he moves like the Tin Man, and his legs squeak and stuff, and one player just walks up and says, "Oh man, that must be really uncomfortable. You know, I've got some oil in here that I could take right back in his." It's WD 400. Should work great. Clear him up. Might even just let you right in. Or
It's
maybe
like the Tin Man meets Androcles in the Lion. I like it.
Right. Maybe a dangerous elemental may have just been summoned against their will, or stumbled into a rift between worlds and is just trying to get home. Like it's not his fault. He's a fire elemental and the forest is burning. He's lost, you know.
Get him in the fireplace. It's like, ah, shit.
Most adventurers aren't going to know that because they're just going to, we got to go deal with the elemental, and somebody just tries talking to it, and I just want to go home. Well, you know what, Ian?
Banish.
There it is. I knew he knew it. Banish. I hate banish. I don't like banish.
I made him hate banish.
Anyway, so
Yeah. Yeah.
so consider what the enemy in front of you desires and leverage that to parlay. You don't have to kill everything. You really don't.
It's usually a lot easier not to. It saves on resources. You know
And
those
it-
spell slots you want to save? That you're like, oh man, I want to use this on the big bad evil guy. Oh no. And your wizard's like, I just want to blow these guys up so we can
Yeah.
go on there a little faster. And it's like, okay, well, now you can't. You ran out of spell slots and we're at the big bad evil guy. So what do you do now?
Now, I'm not saying there aren't some monsters and bad guys that just need to die.
Sure.
But sometimes there's other options, and even the DM isn't aware that there's another option.
There was.
Ron, what do you think?
Oh, I was gonna say, quick little tidbit on that. We were getting chased by what was it, like a bunch of like devil hounds or something,
Yes,
and
bastard.
I literally took like this bone halberd that I got from some
In
devil.
Avernus, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I just looked at it. I looked at the DM. I was like, can I just like throw this at them and like maybe they're just hungry. I don't know. And he's like, yeah, I guess. And I'm like, cool. So I threw it, and I was like, well, run, everybody.
Caught me off guard badly. I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Let's do it.
I mean, I have
And
to
it was
assume.
way cooler, because that was something that became memorable, because then he tried to do it again. Did you do it again?
No, I only had the one bone
Oh.
spear.
Anyways,
I still think one of the biggest puzzles I ever gave you was being grappled by a doll, only for me to jump into an ooze.
Zipperon, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that anytime that you have an intelligent enemy who is not just like bent on destruction, there should be a way to have that fight without combat.
Yeah.
I think giving your players some clues ahead of time, I think there's definitely some things that DMs can do to sort of prompt that behavior from your players. Like with the construct example, if you gave them a tube of grease in the previous room, then you're more likely to get that result.
Mhm.
So I
Fair
think that if you do a little extra work as a dungeon master, then you're more likely to get these sort of results. You have to plant the clues that the players will respond to.
Well, and I definitely, and I think that works if you're planning on it. But see, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think as a player tip, we're hoping that the players will think of these options and consider deviating the DM story, which I know some DMs hate.
Now I'm thinking about that one Hellboy meme that went around from the comic. You see this demon roaring at them. Open the next panel, the demon suddenly goes, "My name's Daryl."
All right. Okay, so from a player's point of view, what I would say as a player tip would be when you do one of these sorts of things to try to appeal to a monstrous desire. Give your DM a reason other than I just roll the dice. Tell them how you're doing it, or why you're doing it, or what's your reasoning behind why you think this will work. Give the DM a reason to say yes.
Yes. And I know some won't, and that's okay, but you won't know if you don't try.
Now I'm thinking about that one anime where this pro wrestler wants to open up some pet shop, but he's in the fantasy realm, so there's monsters everywhere. And when they get attacked by like a 3-headed dog, he's like, "It's so cute!" Then cuts the next scene, we're scratching his tummy. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
And there's so many scenes ways to do that. Like, I'm getting on a tangent. I think it's a powerful tool.
Yeah.
And even with wild animals, I've had the players come across big dire wolves and use talk with animals, and it was like, okay, well, why would this thing be here growling at them? It's either hungry. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna make it female. Oh, now it's got puppies, and they're just around the corner. She just says she wants you to get out of her territory so that her pups aren't in danger. They're like, okay, we'll go this way, and that.
Problem solved.
I hadn't planned on that. That's just something the druid's like, hey, what's in your do you have a thorn in your foot?
Yeah, like
all right, so I think that'll do it for our player tip of the podcast. Don't be a dick. And you can avoid dickitude by appealing to monstrous desires.
woohoo.
Before we close out today, we have another gift to give away. Compliments of our generous sponsor.
And our next giveaway is Ben Richten's Librams of Lineages by Splinterverse Media. Brand new lineages and optional rules including with a shadow that's not their own, that Shadow Soul wields otherworldly power. Tethered to a magical key, the Keykeeper seeks the key's mysterious home lock. Infected with a dark disease, the Blighted must master their newfound abilities. The Bookbearer is cursed to carry a fantastical book and capture simple knowledge for Mephistocles. Plus, also has some optional rules to remove a lineage from a character or link them together for a linear progression. And it contains full color artwork for every lineage, and also includes a printer-friendly version.
Who's our winner today, Ian?
I don't know.
No,
Oh
that's
my
the
god,
winner.
that's it! I'm like, it's right. Oh, that's actually what it is. I don't know. How did I not notice that?
I don't know. You're the one that's.
Congratulations for the dope ass punny name.
Yeah. Did that win? Not a problem. Head on over to createhammy.com and subscribe. And check out our other free stuff.
Oh
We got
man!
lots.
So before we close out here, Zipperon, would you like to give yourself one more plug about Galder's Gazetteer, where they can find you, all that jazz?
Yeah, absolutely. So the book is Galder's Gazetteer on Drive-Through RPG. 196 full color pages, over 100 pieces, 3 classes, 40 subclasses, 20 new ancestries, spells, feats, GM toolkit, 2 adventures, all going towards, every single penny is going towards the Cancer Research Institute. Great book, wonderful cause. If you are sick and tired, if you want to push your Dungeon Master skills to the next level, come check out my channel. There is no beginner tips there. I assume that you have a whole lot of knowledge and you're looking to sort of push the boundaries of what you can do. Zipperon Disney at YouTube.
Yes.
Thank you.
Check it out. If I can recommend, I think we've had him on before for this very thing, but if you have not already watched it, How to Make Your Combat Flow was single-handedly improved my DMing. So thank you.
Yeah, everyone who watches the Make Your Combat Flow video, it changes the way they run the game.
Yes, and that's not a joke, and it's for the better. And if you're one of those old grumpy curmudgeons who think you're perfect, you're not if you're not already doing this. So get the fuck on. I want to say thank you for joining us, Zipperon. I absolutely love having you on. This was a blast.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I'm hoping for the absolute best for your Kickstarter. I backed it for the hardcover book.
Thank you.
I know that you are a fantastic producer. You make great content on DM's Guild, and this product, when funded, is going to be outstanding. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you very much.
It's
for that
definitely
support.
a slow but sure march so far.
Yeah, let's hope. All right, please join us on our next episode. We'll be discussing incredible creatures with Alan Tucker. I'm super excited for this. I love this product, much like Galder. Honestly, if I bring it on the show, I bring it on because I love it. So that means it's great. And you should support it anyway.
Yep.
Because I get a lot of crap, and I only invite the good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we've never given a negative review on the show because why would we waste our time with bad stuff?
Right. All right. So if you enjoyed the show and you would like to support us, you can visit us at critacademy.com.
Yeah, you can also follow us on social media. Leave us a review there. You can leave us a review on iTunes.
Yes, there. You can do that.
Over there. And of course, if we haven't said it like 4 times already, please go to our Kickstarter where Capes and Crooks is, and please become a backer. It helps us so much. We want to make this kind of like passion project dream come true because honestly, it's super fucking cool. If you like really versatile stuff,
Super.
yeah.
Nice. Happy accident?
Yeah, it was a happy accident.
A good accident.
If you like really versatile character creation and just strip away the subclasses and keep all these really awesome options to create your really unique hero or villain, highly recommend checking it out, guys. It's just super fucking cool.
Yeah, please do. With that, I am your host, Justin.
I'm the guest Zipperon Disney.
And I'm
Thanks for listening.
No, it's okay. Go
And
ahead.
I'm your co-host, Austin.
Never kills Ian.
Keep your blades sharp and spells prepared, heroes. Thank you guys for joining us.
See you guys later.